If I told you that somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, between Hawaii and Mexico, there is a treasure buried so deep that it could power every electric car on the planet, you probably would not believe me. But it is true. Down there, 4,000 meters below the surface, where sunlight has never reached, where the pressure is so crushing that a human body would be flattened in an instant, the seafloor is littered with trillions of metallic rocks. They are called polymetallic nodules. They look like small potatoes, but inside them is nickel, cobalt, copper, and manganese. The exact materials your Tesla, your Rivian, or any electric vehicle battery absolutely needs to exist. Now think about this. The field is so vast that calling it a continent would not be an exaggeration. Scientists say that in the Clarion-Clipperton Zone alone, the CCZ, there are enough nodules to electrify the entire global car fleet. The metals company claims that just 3 of their exploration areas contain enough metal for 250 million electric vehicle batteries. Let that number sink in. 250 million? Enough to convert the majority of cars in America, Europe, and Asia to electric? But behind that number lies a question that might be the most important one of our time. Do we know what world we will destroy in this gold rush? Do we know the price we will pay? This video is the story of a war that has already begun. A war between wealth and the world. A war between technology and destruction. Perhaps a war between humanity and its own impatience. This is the place where our civilization decides its next move. First, let us understand what these nodules are and how they form. They've been forming on the ocean floor for millions of years. The process is incredibly slow. Metal oxides deposit around tiny fragments of basaltic rock over millions of years. Dissolved metal ions in the ocean accumulate on these rocks layer by layer. Their size is typically that of a potato or a tennis ball. Some are as small as a golf ball, some as large as a football. But their importance is thousands of times greater than their size. Every nodule contains the critical minerals that are the real engine of the renewable energy revolution. Nickel, the main component of high-grade batteries. Cobalt, which gives batteries stability and energy density. Copper, used in wiring and conductors. Manganese, used in steel alloys and battery cathodes. Now consider this. In the CCZ alone, the quantity of these nodules is so vast that industry analysts say the significant shortages of nickel, cobalt, and copper expected in the coming years could be solved by this single source. This is not just an option anymore, and it has become a necessity. But what exactly is the CCZ? It is a vast stretch of the Pacific Ocean, roughly 1.7 million square miles, southeast of Hawaii. It is considered the largest known deposit of nickel, cobalt, and manganese on the seafloor. The depth ranges from about 4,000 to 5,500 meters. Think about it. If you flipped Mount Everest upside down and dropped it into the ocean, its peak would still not reach this depth. The temperature there hovers between 1 and 4 degrees Celsius, absolute darkness. Pressure of 400 to 550 atmospheres, that is over 8,000 pounds per square inch. How does life survive in this environment? It is a wonder in itself, and this very wonder is what we are now targeting for mining. Several companies have already claimed pieces of this seabed. Leading the charge is the Metals Company. Based in Vancouver and listed on NASDAQ under ticker TMC, their subsidiary, Noro Ocean Resources Inc., holds an exploration contract from the ISA, the International Seabed Authority. Then there's Global Sea Mineral Resources, or GSR, a Belgian company, and subsidiary of the Deem Group. They also hold a license in the CCZ. Norway's Loki Minerals is also in this race. And now Norway is preparing to mine its own territorial waters. The Cook Islands have begun issuing permits in their waters as well. China Minmetals and Beijing Pioneer are involved. India's Ministry of Earth Sciences, South Korea, Japan's JOGMEC, and UK Seabed Resources, now sold to Loke Minerals, are all in this game. This is not the story of one company or one country. This is a global race, a race for the deep, a race for the future of energy. Now comes the most interesting part. How will the mining actually work? The Metals Company's environmental manager, Michael Clark, said their plan is to build a giant vacuum cleaner that will crawl across the seabed and suck up the nodules. This machine will send the nodules up a pipe to a vessel on the surface. Their vessel, the Hidden Gem, is being converted at the port of Rotterdam. It is a former ultra-deep-water drill ship, now being turned into a production support vessel. GSR tested their collector in 2021 at 1/5 scale. They have a proprietary subsea collector vehicle. Loke Minerals is also developing its own technology, including UAVs for surveying and sampling. A Canadian company called Impossible Metals claims it can use image recognition and robotic arms to selectively pick nodules. Every company has brought its own method. Some use vacuum systems, some use robotic arms, some use traditional dredging approaches. But they all share the same target, those trillions of rocks sitting 4,000 meters below. But think about this. That machine is crawling down there and stirring up sediment. It will create an underwater dust storm. If that dust storm could travel for kilometers, and the life down there, it will suffocate in that dust. Let me paint you a picture of what this machine actually looks like. Metals company calls it a polymetallic nodule collector. It is essentially a massive tracked vehicle, something like a tank, but designed to operate in absolute darkness under crushing pressure. It crawls along the seafloor at a speed of roughly 1 to 2 kilometers per hour. As it moves, it uses hydraulic suction to pull nodules in the top few centimeters of sediment into a riser pipe. That pipe stretches all the way up to the surface vessel, 4 kilometers above. The nodules travel up this pipe in a slurry mixed with seawater. On the surface, they are separated, cleaned, and stored. The waste sediment and water are then pumped back down to a lower depth, usually around 1,200 meters, and released. This is called a discharge plume. And this discharge plume is where another major environmental concern lies, because that sediment is not just dirt. It is a concentrated mix of heavy metals, organic matter, and microscopic life that has been undisturbed for millions of years. When you dump it back at 1,200 meters, you are introducing it into a completely different ecosystem. Midwater ecosystems that have never experienced this kind of disturbance will be flooded with foreign sediment. Fish, jellyfish, squid, and countless organisms that live in the midwater column will be affected. We are not just damaging the seafloor, we are potentially damaging the entire water column from bottom to top. And here is something that keeps me up at night. The metals company says their operations will be sustainable. Use words like responsible extraction and green metals. But what does responsible extraction look like for kilometers underwater where nobody can see it? What does sustainable mean when the thing you are extracting takes 10 million years to form? Can you call something sustainable if the resource you are removing will not regenerate for 10 million years? That is not sustainability. That is liquidation. That is mining our planet's capital and calling it income. And the worst part is, we are doing this before we even know what we are destroying. We are writing the final chapter of species that we have not even discovered yet. We are erasing chapters from a book we have not even opened. But here is where a massive legal mess comes in. The International Seabed Authority, or ESA, operating under the United Nations, is the regulator of this seabed. Under UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, this authority has been working since 1994. Its job is to ensure seabed resources are used as the common heritage of humanity. Since 2014, it has been trying to draft a mining code. But as of August 2026, that code remains unfinished. The March 2026 ESA Council meeting ended without approving any mining or adopting any code. No mining approved, no mining code adopted. 40 nations now support a moratorium, a ban on mining. France, Germany, Brazil, Mexico, Costa Rica, Palau, South Africa, speaking for the Africa Group, all saying that environmental safeguards must be completed first. A benefit-sharing framework must be clear. Liability must be established. Inspection protocols must exist. Compliance mechanisms must be in place. Everything is bracketed, meaning nothing is agreed. The ISA has also launched an inquiry into contractor non-compliance. The Legal and Technical Commission's preliminary report states that one contractor, likely Nori, may be breaching its contract terms. Their obligations require them to work within the multilateral framework, but they may be pushing toward unilateral mining. If proven, the contract could be terminated. Emma Wilson, policy lead at the DSCC, the Deep Sea Conservation Coalition, said contractors cannot hold exploration contracts under the international system while simultaneously attempting unilateral mining. Duncan Curry, legal advisor at the DSCC, says that if companies bypass the ISA through national processes, it would be unauthorized appropriation of the global commons, a serious violation of international law. The July 2026 meeting also discussed NORA's contract extension, but the next major meeting is not until March 2027, so no final code is coming before 2027. Deadline after deadline. Delay after delay. Deep Singh of the Oceano Azul Foundation says the code will not be adopted this year. Nobody is ready. But America has taken a different path. In April 2025, President Trump signed an executive order unleashing America's offshore critical minerals. Then on January 21, 2026, NOAA issued a final rule. This rule streamlines the process for deep seabed mining exploration licenses and commercial recovery permits. Previously, these were two separate steps. You had to apply for an exploration license first, then a commercial recovery permit separately. Now it is a consolidated process. A single application covers both exploration and commercial recovery. A single environmental impact statement may suffice. NOAA Administrator Neil Jacobs said deep seabed mining unlocks a domestic source of critical minerals for America. This is part of the America First agenda. It will strengthen economic resilience. Under this rule, the metals company's subsidiary TMC USA submitted an application to NOAA. They claim it is the world's first such application. They want to extract 3 million to 20 million tons per year from the CCZ on a 20-year lease. But here is the problem. The CCZ is in international waters. It is not American territory. Under international law, this seabed is the common heritage of humanity. The ISA has condemned this move. It says unilateral exploitation of resources belonging to no single state, but to all of humanity is prohibited. Princeton professors are saying this undermines the rules-based international order that America itself helped build. But America has the 1980 Deep Seabed Hard Mineral Resources Act. It's passed by Congress, and the Trump administration is now using it. Questions are also being raised in the Netherlands and Switzerland about whether companies under their jurisdiction are involved in this. Now let us get to the part that probably gets the least attention: the environment. What is down there in the deep? What are we losing? According to a Scientific American report, less than 0.001% of the seafloor has ever been directly seen by scientists. That means what we have seen is practically nothing. We have probably covered more area mowing our own lawns than scientists have seen of the ocean floor. In May 2026, the Ocean Census Alliance announced it had discovered 1,121 new species in just 1 year, a 54% increase from the first year. Among them is a ghost shark, a worm living inside a glass castle named Alhausiella yabuki, and a ribbon worm containing toxins that might help treat Alzheimer's or schizophrenia. These discoveries came from depths of 6,575 meters. In June 2026, the Schmidt Ocean Institute discovered 31 new species in just 2 weeks. From Brazilian seamounts, the southern Atlantic, the Pacific. Now think out. If mining begins and these species are still unknown, will we even see them die? Will we even learn their names? Will we drive a species to extinction without ever knowing it existed? And it is not just that. The nodules themselves are part of an ecosystem. According to NOAA Ocean Exploration, up to a third of deep-sea marine life depends on nodules in some way. These nodules provide a hard surface in an otherwise muddy environment. They are not just rocks, they are homes. Corals grow on them, sponges attach to them, anemones live on them, countless microscopic organisms thrive on them. When that vacuum cleaner rolls across the seabed, it will not just pick up nodules, it will strip mine the entire habitat. One study says mining sediment plumes could travel for kilometers. This will be an underwater dust storm that suffocates marine life. Filter-feeding organisms will be the first to die. Remember the Deepwater Horizon disaster? 2010, an oil rig exploded in the Gulf of Mexico? But this could be even more irreversible. Why? Because the oil rose to the surface. It could be mitigated, skimmed, dispersed with chemicals. But this damage will be 4,000 meters down, in pitch-black darkness, where the pressure is so extreme that no human can go there directly. If something goes wrong, who will fix it? Who will go down there? ROVs can be sent, but they have limits too, and this damage will not even be visible. There will be no media coverage, because no camera can easily go down there. And here is something deeply disturbing. Octopus nurseries. In 2018, scientists discovered octopus nurseries in the CCZ. Thousands of female octopuses were incubating their eggs on the nodules. This was the first time such a concentration of octopuses was seen laying eggs in one place. Their behavior showed them sitting between the nodules, protecting their eggs. If mining begins, these nurseries will be the first targets. Because mining will start where nodule concentration is highest, and that is exactly where these nurseries are. We are basically preparing to bulldoze a place where one of the most unique and sensitive life cycles on Earth is happening. These octopuses are blind. They will never even know why their home is being destroyed. Now consider the geopolitical importance. China, the world's largest EV manufacturer, already holds massive land-based cobalt and nickel contracts in Africa. Cobalt in Congo.
And nickel in Indonesia.
But if America or its allies controlled deep-sea mining, the power balance could shift. 82 major financial institutions managing 24 trillion euros in assets have adopted policies restricting or expressing concerns about deep-sea mining. 70 companies have signed a business statement calling for a moratorium. The corporate world itself is divided. Some say this is necessary for the green transition. Some call it greenwashing. Some say it is more ethical than land mining. Some say we are destroying an unknown ecosystem. Brands like BMW, Volvo, Google, and Samsung have already refused to use minerals sourced from deep-sea mining. They say they want responsible sourcing. And speaking of science, there are still massive unknowns. Ocean census scientists say up to 90% of ocean species remain undiscovered. That was 91% in 2011. It is still the same today. We're about to do something whose damage we fundamentally do not understand. This is the opposite of the precautionary principle. In international law, there is a principle that if full scientific certainty about something does not exist, it should be postponed. But commercial pressure is so intense that this principle may be ignored. Michelle Taylor, head of science at the Ocean Census Alliance, said this is a race against time. We need to know what is down there so we can protect it. Oliver Steeds, director of Ocean Census, says we spend billions searching for life on Mars. But discovering the majority of life in our own ocean costs a fraction of that. He says the question is not whether we can afford this. The question is whether we can afford not to. The metals company and other companies argue that land mining also causes damage. Child labor in Congolese cobalt mines, deforestation from Indonesian nickel mining, rainforests being destroyed, rivers polluted in the Philippines from nickel mining. So is deep-sea mining not better? Is it not a lesser evil? That is a powerful argument. Scientists respond that we understand land ecosystems. Restoring them is difficult, but theoretically possible. Trees can be replanted. Soil can be treated. Deep-sea ecosystems? We have not even done a proper survey of them yet. What will their recovery time be? Will they recover at all? Some scientists say nodule formation takes millions of years. Some estimates say 5 to 10 million years for a single nodule to form. If nodules are removed from an area, it could take millions of years for them to return. This damage is permanent, irreversible. We are causing damage on a time scale older than human civilization itself. And here's another angle to consider. This nodule gold rush is essentially a new form of colonialism. Pacific island nations like Nauru, the Cook Islands, Tonga, Kiribati are leasing their seabed rights to massive corporations. They will get royalties, employment, capacity building. But is this a fair deal? Are these countries getting the true value of their resources? Or is this the same old story where developing countries sell their resources to developed nations and later bear the environmental costs themselves? Nauru is a country already devastated by phosphate mining. 80% of its land has been destroyed by mining. Its population is only 12,000. Why are they turning to seabed mining? Because they have no options. Their economy needs support. This is a tragic cycle. The developed world consumed their land, and now it will consume their seabed too. And when the environmental damage comes, it will happen in Nauru's waters, not America's or Europe's. Nauru pulled a trigger in 2021. Under the 2-year rule, they told the INSA that if a mining code was not finalized within 2 years, they would start mining unilaterally. That deadline was July 2023. The code was not finalized. Now it is 2026, and still no code exists. But that trigger created panic. Companies accelerated their preparations. Now, Nauru finds itself in a position where it needs royalties from seabed leases. Its population is 12,000. A portion of its GDP will depend on this. But will this help them or make them even more vulnerable? This is a crucial question, because if mining fails or causes an environmental disaster, what will Nauru do? They do not have the resources to handle that damage. Let me tell you more about the ghost shark. It is not actually a shark. It is a chimera, part of an ancient lineage related to sharks and rays, but distinct. It has a retractable sex organ on its head. Scientists discovered it in the Coral Sea. It lives at 6,575 meters depth. Think about it. No light reaches that depth. This animal navigates using its senses. If mining noise and sediment disrupt those senses, what will happen? Will this species survive? Will we drive this ancient creature to extinction? Think about the glass castle worm, too. Dalhousiella yabuki. It is a polychaete worm that lives inside a glass sponge. The glass sponge's skeleton is made of crystalline silica. It's basically a glass castle. Inside it lives this worm, providing nutrients to the sponge in a symbiotic relationship. It was found at 791 meters depth in Japan's Shichiyo seamount chain. This ecosystem is so delicate that if the sponge is destroyed, the worm dies too, and mining sediment plumes will do exactly that. Sponges are filter feeders. It will suffocate in the sediment. Let us talk about pressure. At 4,000 meters, pressure is 5,800 psi. That is the weight of a military tank on every square inch. Machines can fail under this pressure. In 2019, GSR conducted a collector test. What were the results? How big was the sediment plume? This data is not fully publicly available. Companies claim the impact is minimal. But independent scientists do not have access to these tests. There is a transparency issue. Can we trust companies looking at billion-dollar profits? In terms of economic value, the CCZ holds an estimated value in the trillions of dollars. But this value is not just in metals. The biodiversity of this area has its own value. Potential medical discoveries have their own value. Toxins in those ribbon worms could help treat Alzheimer's. Can we calculate that value? No, because we do not know what else is down there. So should we take the risk? Should we gamble with an unknown ecosystem? The metals company has 10,450 preserved biological samples, 3,153 line kilometers of seabed images, and 115,591 square kilometers of high-resolution bathymetric data. They have data. Scientists say this is just scratching the surface. In the CCZ, 1.44 million square kilometers have been set aside as areas of particular environmental interest. But are these enough? Do these areas actually represent the full biodiversity? These questions remain unanswered. So where do we stand in August 2026? The ESA code is unfinished. America is pushing unilateral permitting. 40 countries want a moratorium. Companies are readying their vessels. Scientists are discovering new species. And we, the audience, are watching. This is a moment where history is being decided. Are we moving toward a future where we turn the depths of our oceans into victims of our greed? Or will we adopt a responsible approach where exploration is completed first, then regulations are built, and then a thoughtful decision is made? Sofia Sanikli, Global Campaign Director at the DSCC, says pushing ahead regardless is reckless. It sacrifices the ocean and humanity's common heritage for short-term commercial interests. Matthew Gianni, co-founder of the DSCC, says deep-sea mining will cause large-scale and likely irreversible damage to vast areas of the ocean floor. Look, the purpose of this video is not to scare you. It is to force you to think. Because this decision is not just being made by governments and corporations. Indirectly, we are all making it. When we buy an electric car, we fuel this demand. When we use a smartphone, we are part of this supply chain. We talk about renewable energy, we create demand for these metals. So the question is, do we even know what price is being paid for this convenience? Are we prepared to let the unknown world of our oceans remain unknown? Or will we leave it unknown only because we destroyed it before we could know it? Are we willing to watch another species go extinct without ever having heard its name? Are we willing to hand our next generations an ocean where nothing is left? If you have watched this video this far, tell me in the comments which side you are on. Should deep-sea mining be stopped until full scientific study is complete? Or is it a necessary evil for the green transition? And yes, if you found this video informative, please like and share it, because these are the topics that mainstream media barely discusses. News channels debate Trump's tweets, but nobody is talking about what is actually deciding the future of our planet. And do not forget to subscribe, because I regularly bring videos like this. Hit the bell icon so you do not miss any video, because the next video will also be about something that will change the way you think. Now I have 3 questions for you. First, do you think deep-sea mining should be completely stopped until we fully know what is down there and what damage it will cause? Second, do you think about where your electric vehicle's battery minerals come from and what the real cost of that mining is before you buy one? Third, do you think America's unilateral deep-sea mining permits are justified? Or is this a violation of international law that sets a dangerous precedent for the entire world? Write your answers in the comments. I personally read every comment and reply to each one. See you in the next video. Till then, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop asking questions. Thank you.